Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Roger Federer just gave Eala a brand new car, and the entire tennis world has completely lost its mind. But hold on, because this wasn't just some random generous gesture from a wealthy athlete feeling charitable. This was something far deeper, far more meaningful, and far more controversial than anyone initially realized. What started as a beautiful moment of mentorship and recognition quickly spiraled into a full-blown debate about privilege, merit, and what it really means to support the next generation of athletes. The cameras captured everything: the shock on Eala's face, the tears streaming down her cheeks, the embrace that felt like the literal passing of a torch from one generation to the next. Within hours, millions of people around the globe were asking the exact same questions. Why her? Why now? And what does this gesture actually mean for tennis? 1 minute, Eala was celebrating a significant career milestone, feeling proud of how far she'd come. The next minute, she was standing in complete disbelief as one of the greatest athletes in human history handed her the keys to something she never saw coming. The footage went viral instantly, spreading across every social media platform imaginable, racking up tens of millions of views before the sun had even set. People were crying, people were celebrating, people were arguing, and everyone had an opinion about what had just happened. But here's what most people don't understand, what the viral clips and the headlines don't tell you. The connection between Eala and Roger Federer didn't start with this explosive moment. It started years ago in the quiet, unglamorous corners of a training facility in Switzerland, where a teenage girl from the Philippines was grinding through endless drills, thousands of miles from home, chasing a dream that seemed absolutely impossible to everyone except her. When Eala was just 14 years old, she enrolled at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, which became her primary training base. But before that pivotal decision, she spent crucial developmental months training in Switzerland, where the Federer name wasn't just legendary, it was everywhere you looked. The Swiss Tennis Federation, heavily influenced by Roger's unprecedented success and his extensive philanthropic work, had become an absolute magnet for young talent from around the world. Alex was one of those hungry young talents, quiet, fiercely determined, and absolutely relentless in her pursuit of excellence. Federer wasn't coaching her directly. He wasn't even around the facility most of the time, constantly traveling for tournaments, sponsor obligations, and his various business ventures. But his presence was felt in every aspect of the training environment. His and relentless improvement was embedded into the very culture she trained within every single day. And then one day, during one of his rare visits to the training center, Roger Federer saw Eala play. He didn't make a big announcement about it. He didn't hold a press conference or post about it on social media. He simply stood courtside and watched her train. He observed her footwork, analyzed her shot selection, studied the way she fought for every single point, even in routine practice sessions when no one was keeping score. What he saw impressed him deeply. After the session ended, Federer walked over to where Alex was catching her breath, introduced himself as if she didn't already know exactly who he was, and said something beautifully simple but profoundly powerful. "Keep going. You have something special." For Eala, those words became rocket fuel. She carried them through every devastating loss, every frustrating injury, every dark moment of doubt when quitting seemed easier than continuing. And Roger, for his part, quietly kept track of her progress. He followed her results from afar. He saw her capture the 2022 U.S. Open Girls Singles title, becoming the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam title at any level. He watched her break into the WTA rankings and start her professional journey. He knew her story intimately, understood the barriers she was breaking as a Filipino athlete in a sport overwhelmingly dominated by Europe and North America, and he respected every aspect of her journey. But the world didn't know any of this. To most casual tennis fans, Eala was simply a promising young player with potential. To Roger Federer, she represented something far more significant: proof that the next generation was ready, evidence that the work he'd invested into building pathways for young players was actually paying off, confirmation that tennis at its core was still about passion, sacrifice, and the unshakable belief that anything is possible if you're willing to work for it. So when the opportunity arose to do something truly meaningful, something that would honor her journey while simultaneously inspiring others, Roger Federer didn't hesitate for a second. He had always believed deeply in gestures that mattered, not for publicity or headlines or brand enhancement, but because in a sport that could often feel cold and transactional, moments of genuine human connection were rare and extraordinarily powerful. This was destined to be one of those moments, and it was about to change absolutely everything. But what actually happened to trigger this gesture? What specific milestone pushed Federer to act when he did? It was late April, and Eala had just pulled off the biggest victory of her entire professional career. After months of exhausting grinding through challenger events and lower-tier WTA tournaments, fighting for every ranking point, she had finally broken through in spectacular fashion. She defeated a top 50 player in straight sets at a WTA 250 event, her first truly significant victory on the main tour. The match itself was absolutely electric. Eala's aggressive baseline play, her fearless approaches to the net, her complete refusal to be intimidated by a higher-ranked opponent. It was everything she'd been working toward for years. But it wasn't just the victory that mattered, it was the context surrounding it that made it so remarkable. Eala had been dealing with a serious wrist injury that had very nearly derailed her entire season. She'd spent weeks in grueling rehabilitation, honestly questioning whether she'd ever return to her best form. Her ranking had slipped dangeringly. Sponsors were getting nervous about their investment. The pressure was absolutely suffocating, and yet somehow she came back stronger, sharper, and more focused than ever before. In her post-match interview, when she was asked about the journey and what kept her going during the darkest moments, her answer was raw, completely unfiltered, and deeply personal in a way that caught everyone off guard. She talked about her family back in the Philippines who had sacrificed absolutely everything so she could train abroad. She talked about the profound loneliness of being away from home for years at such a young age. She talked about the coaches, the physiotherapists, all the people who believed in her when the results simply weren't coming. And then she mentioned something that caught everyone completely off guard. She said, and I'm quoting directly here, "There was this moment years ago when someone I looked up to told me I had something special. I didn't believe it then, but I kept that memory alive. And every time I wanted to quit, I thought about those words." She didn't name Roger Federer explicitly. She didn't have to. The tennis community is remarkably small. Word travels fast, and within hours, people started connecting the dots. Journalists dug into old interviews and training camp reports. Fans found pictures of a young Eala training in Switzerland. And suddenly, the story took on an entirely new dimension. Roger saw the interview. He saw the raw emotion in her eyes. He saw the enormous weight she'd been carrying. And he made a decision, not as a PR move, not as a brand ambassador fulfilling contractual obligations for any company, but as someone who understood exactly what it meant to fight for every inch of success in a sport that could be brutal and completely unforgiving. He reached out directly to her team. He asked where she'd be in the coming weeks, and he started planning something that would honor not just her recent victory, but her entire journey. Something that would send a clear message to every young player watching around the world. Your effort matters, your story matters, and the people who've been where you are, they see you. The stage was set, the moment was approaching, and nobody, not even Alex herself, had any idea what was coming. And then it happened. The moment that would absolutely break the internet and spark a debate nobody saw coming. It was supposed to be a completely routine sponsor event. Eala had been invited to a tennis exhibition in Zurich, a relatively low-key appearance to celebrate her recent success. The organizers told her it would be casual and straightforward. Some meet and greets with fans, a few promotional photos, maybe a short speech. Nothing major. She showed up in a simple outfit, carrying no expectations whatsoever, just genuinely grateful for the recognition. The venue was elegant but understated. A small crowd of fans, journalists, and tennis enthusiasts filled the intimate space. Alex walked in, smiled warmly, waved to familiar faces, and took her designated place near the front. The host began speaking, thanking everyone for coming and highlighting Alex's recent achievements. Standard stuff. Polite applause rippled through the room, and then the host said something that made her heart absolutely skip a beat. Alex, there's someone here today who wanted to personally celebrate your journey with you. The lights dimmed dramatically. A side door opened slowly, and Roger Federer walked in. The room absolutely erupted. Fans screamed. Cameras flashed frantically. Alex's hand flew to her mouth in complete shock. She genuinely couldn't believe what was happening. Roger, displaying his signature calm and graceful manner, walked straight toward her with his arms open. They embraced, and for that brief moment, everything else completely disappeared. The noise, the flashing cameras, the pressure, all of it faded away. It was just two people who understood exactly what it meant to fight for something bigger than themselves. But then Roger stepped back, smiled that famous smile, and said something that would be quoted thousands of times over the next few days. Alex, I've been following your journey for a very long time, and I wanted to do something to honor what you've accomplished. Not just on the court, but the way you've represented your country, your family, and everyone who's ever doubted themselves. He gestured toward the entrance. Two assistants wheeled in a covered platform. The crowd went completely silent, the tension palpable. Alex looked confused, glancing between Roger and the mysterious covered object. Roger simply nodded encouragingly. The cover was dramatically pulled back. It was a brand new Mercedes-Benz EQS, sleek silver with a custom license plate that read AE22, representing her initials and the year she won the US Open girls title. Alex completely froze. Her eyes immediately filled with tears. She turned to Roger, absolutely speechless, and he just smiled warmly. "You've earned this," he said firmly. "Not because of one match, but because of everything you've done to get here." She couldn't hold it in anymore. The tears came flooding out. She hugged him again, this time longer and harder, and the crowd erupted in thunderous applause. Roger handed her the keys. She held them like they were made of the most fragile glass, still in complete disbelief. The cameras captured every single second. Her trembling hands, her tearful smile, the way Roger gently placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, as if to say, "You belong here among the elite." And then she spoke. Through the tears, through the overwhelming emotion washing over her, she managed to say, "I don't even know what to say. This is everything. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself." Within minutes, the video was absolutely everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, news outlets, sports channels across the globe. The clip of Alex breaking down emotionally, of Roger's quiet, knowing smile, of the keys being handed over, it went viral instantly. Millions of views in the first hour alone, tens of millions by the end of the day. But the internet wasn't just passively watching, it was reacting. And not everyone saw the moment the same way. Because as genuinely beautiful as the moment was, it sparked a heated debate that absolutely nobody saw coming. The first wave of reactions was pure emotion. Fans flooded social media with messages of overwhelming support, admiration, and inspiration. "This is what sports is really about," one viral tweet declared. "Roger Federer is an absolute class act," said another. Thousands of people shared the video with captions like, "I'm not crying, you're crying," and "This is why we love tennis." Alex's compatriots in the Philippines were especially moved. The hashtag Proud Pinoy trended for hours. News outlets in Manila ran the story on continuous loop. Parents posted about showing the video to their children, using it as a powerful lesson in perseverance and humility. For many Filipinos, it was a moment of intense national pride, a young Filipina being honored by one of the greatest athletes of all time. But as the hours passed, the tone began to shift noticeably. Questions started popping up, comments that were less celebratory and far more critical. "Why her?" some asked pointedly. "There are so many struggling players. Why does she get a luxury car?" Others quickly pointed out that Alex came from a relatively privileged background compared to other athletes from developing nations. Her father was a professional basketball player. She had access to elite training opportunities from a young age. This isn't a rags to riches story, one viral tweet claimed bluntly. It's privilege rewarding privilege. Then came the inevitable think pieces. Sports journalists began debating whether Federer's gesture, while clearly well-intentioned, actually sent the wrong message. Does this create unrealistic expectations for young athletes? One article questioned. Are we celebrating hard work, or are we celebrating proximity to fame? Another piece directly questioned the optics. Federer could have donated that money to a tennis development program in Africa or Southeast Asia. Instead, he gave a luxury car to someone who's already on the rise. The criticism wasn't universal by any means, but it was loud and it forced people to choose sides. Some fiercely defended Roger, arguing he had every right to honor someone he'd personally mentored and believed in. Others argued that in a sport already heavily criticized for its lack of diversity and accessibility, gestures like this, however kind, simply reinforced existing inequalities. Alex stayed completely silent for the first 24 hours. Her team wisely advised her to let the moment speak for itself. But the noise grew progressively louder. Comments on her Instagram ranged from heartfelt congratulations to genuinely harsh accusations. You didn't earn this. You were just in the right place at the right time. And then the conspiracy theories started gaining traction. Some skeptical fans claimed the entire thing was staged by Mercedes-Benz as an elaborate marketing stunt. Notice how perfectly framed the car reveal was. One detailed TikTok breakdown suggested. This was planned months ago. Others speculated that Federer's various sponsorship deals required him to do a certain number of public appearances and charitable gestures, and this was simply a strategic PR move, cleverly disguised as genuine mentorship. Even other professional players weighed in. One former WTA pro, speaking anonymously to a tennis podcast, said bluntly, "Look, I'm happy for Alex, but let's be real. There are girls grinding in challengers who literally can't afford plane tickets to tournaments. Roger's gesture is nice, but it's also tone-deaf to the reality most players face." The debate absolutely raged, and Alex, sitting alone in her hotel room, reading the comments late at night, felt the crushing weight of it all. This was supposed to be the best moment of her entire life, and now it was being dissected, questioned, and turned into something ugly and controversial. She knew she had to say something publicly, but what? How do you defend a gift you didn't ask for? How do you explain that this wasn't about the material value of a car, but about everything it represented? And then Roger Federer broke his silence, and what he said changed absolutely everything. 3 days after the viral moment, Roger Federer posted a statement. Not through a PR team, not in a corporate press release, but in a simple handwritten note shared directly on his Instagram account. And it hit completely different than any polished statement could have. "I've been reading the comments," he wrote in his distinctive handwriting, "and I want to address them directly. The gift I gave Alex Eala wasn't about the car. It was never about the car. It was about honoring a journey that I've watched unfold for years. A journey that most people never see because it happens in empty gyms, in lonely rehabilitation sessions, in moments of crushing doubt that no camera ever captures." He continued with remarkable honesty. "When I was young, there were people who believed in me before I had any results to show for it. Coaches who gave me extra time they didn't have to give. Mentors who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself yet. And that belief genuinely changed my life. I've spent the last decade trying to create opportunities for young players because I know from experience how much it matters. Not just the financial support, but the message it sends. Someone sees you. Someone believes in you. Keep going." Then came the part that silenced most of the critics. Alex didn't ask for this. She didn't expect it. She didn't campaign for it. And to those who say she didn't need it, you're absolutely right. She would have succeeded without it. But that's not the point. The point is to celebrate effort, to honor resilience, to show young athletes everywhere that the work they put in, even when nobody's watching, genuinely matters. He addressed the privilege argument head-on with remarkable candor. Yes, Alex has had opportunities that many don't have access to, but she also left her home at 12 years old to train in a foreign country. She's fought through painful injuries, frustrating ranking struggles, and the immense pressure of representing an entire nation. Privilege doesn't erase sacrifice, and success doesn't diminish hard work. And then came the kicker, the paragraph that got quoted everywhere. If you think this gesture was wrong, I genuinely respect that perspective. But I'd ask you this. When was the last time you celebrated someone's success without conditions, without immediately asking if they deserved it? We've built a culture where we reflexively tear down people for winning, and I absolutely refuse to be part of that. The response was immediate and dramatic. The backlash completely turned into overwhelming support. Athletes from across all sports shared the post enthusiastically. Serena Williams commented simply, "This is everything." Naomi Osaka wrote, "Needed to hear this today." Even some critics who had initially questioned the gesture admitted that Roger's words had completely reframed the entire moment in their minds. Alex saw the post and cried again, but this time they were completely different tears. Not from shock or overwhelm, but from profound gratitude and relief. Because Roger had done something most people don't have the courage to do. He stood firmly by his decision, clearly explained his reasoning, and refused to let the noise diminish the meaning of what had happened. He addressed the criticism directly and honestly, acknowledging her privilege while also defending her right to be celebrated. "I know I've had opportunities many don't have access to," she wrote, "but I also know what it's like to be doubted, to be told you're not good enough, to fight for every single point like your life depends on it. This gift wasn't about luxury, it was about validation, and I'll carry that feeling with me forever." The conversation shifted dramatically. People stopped endlessly debating whether the gesture was right or wrong and started asking much better questions. How do we better support young athletes? How do we balance celebration with awareness of systemic inequality? How do we create more moments like this, not fewer?